Good evening. Can you hear me? Good evening, board members, Mr. Gonzalez, and district staff. The time is now 6 p.m. on this, the 9th day of May, 2023, and I call this board workshop of the United Independent School District Board of Trustees to order. The following board members are present, starting with roll call to my left.
Gilbert Aguilar, present.
Michelle Molina, present.
Frank Castillo, present.
And Elisa Oliveros present. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this workshop has been duly called, and that notice of this workshop has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Agenda item 2, if we can please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Agenda item 3, public comment. Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes, we have one public comment by Mr. Jose Ovando, and he is speaking on bids, contracts, and board funds.
Okay, Mr. Ovando, welcome.
Good afternoon. For the record, Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Jose Ovando, and I'm here to talk about the bids and contracts. I'm very disappointed that I usually keep seeing the same companies over and over again, and it seems that it's customary that it's just favorable to one-sided. I'm not surprised, though, because, for example, the things that the board has been doing lately, I'm very, very disappointed that there was a board member that he wasn't elected by the people. There wasn't no fue una oportunidad libre para todas las personas de Río Bravo que pudieran escoger o que tuvieran la oportunidad de escoger la persona que ellos pensaran que fuera la más capaz que los representara a ellos. Y lo digo en español porque sé que las personas de la comunidad de Río Bravo usualmente hablan español. And that change in face that the board member has, esa es vergüenza. Es la vergüenza que tienen cuando hacen algo mal. Se te cae la cara y eso es lo que está pasando ahorita. Es la vergüenza que tienen. Pero me imagino yo que la vergüenza se está acabando porque el otro board member que ni siquiera tuvo la dignidad de venirse a presentar, ahora sí, el problema que está teniendo se me hace algo tan vergonzoso, and everybody's here like it's normal. It's not normal. I'm going to remind you that is not normal. And I'm very concerned for my children's safety because if the person is claiming that they have a mental issue, and I'm not criticizing anybody for that, but if they have a mental issue, maybe we should, if it's a cry for help, and I know that one of the board members is a mental health specialist, and, you know, if it's a cry for help, he should be helped, but you know, in the meantime, yo pienso que deberían de removerlo por el momento y se lo estoy pidiendo al board ahorita. Si llega a pasar algo, you guys already know, we the public asked for it. Por favor, hagan caso, remuévanlo. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ovando. And
Thank you,
if
sir.
I could just remind the public that we cannot respond to public comment. The law does not permit us to. Agenda item 4, informational items. 4A, presentation of the 9-month tax collection report.
Good evening, members of the board, Mr. Gonzalez, members of the audience. We bring to you the presentation of the 9-month collection tax report. The firm of Castillo Reyes and Del Rio Law Group will be doing the presentation. I have Ms. Ishan Del Rio will do the presentation. Thank you.
Welcome, Ms. Del Rio.
Good evening, Madam Vice President, members of the board, district staff, administration, Mr. Gonzalez, members of the audience. Thank you for having me. I'm here, for the record, my name is Ishan Huang Del Rio, partner of Castillo Reyes and Del Rio Law Group, and I'm here to present the 9-month tax collection report. And my report is going to be for the period from July 1, 2022 to March 31st, 2023. And to explain better, I know we have 2 new members since my last tax collection report, is even though right now we are in 2023 and we just pay taxes for 2022, my office is only collecting on delinquent taxes, and delinquent taxes are from 2021 and prior. They became delinquent on July 1st, 2022. I gave you an an amended report, and I don't have it here, is what has been collected between July 1st, 2022 and March 31st is the number you see there, $2,531,955. Now, the next line is on July 1st, 2022, when delinquent taxes were handed over to my office, that amount was $6,524,578. So on July 1st, that number was handed to me, and as of March 31st, 2022, the adjusted delinquent amount is $5,844,660. And I know that that number looks off, and you're wondering, why is the adjusted delinquent and the delinquent roll just $1 million when I said I just collected $2.5 million? And that is because on July 1st, what was delinquent was 2021 and prior. On February 1st, all taxes become delinquent. And so now we're after that, so we've included the roll from 2022, and that's the discrepancy in number. When the first time I looked at it, I was a little confused too, but it took a minute to get all that together. So delinquent taxes, we separate into, I look at two blocks. It is real property, mobile homes, and mineral accounts. On the other block I have is business personal property. And like I said, all taxes become delinquent on February 1st. However, for the real property, mobile home, and mineral estates accounts, we don't collect on that until July 1st. So homeowners have between February 1st and July 1st to still continue to pay without attorney's fees attached to their bill. However, business personal property taxes, when they become February 1st, on our tax statements that we send out, that the tax assessor sends out from UISD, it says on a notice for business personal property tax, on February 1st, unpaid personal property taxes will have a tax warrant issued, collection claim filed, and collection fees will be applied. So we have that opportunity starting February 1st as the tax collection firm to issue tax warrants, to start collecting business personal property taxes, the delinquent ones. And when we file tax warrants, we have the opportunity to the use of the UISD police officers to accompany us to businesses to execute the tax warrants. Now, if they don't pay their taxes, we have the legal right to seize the property to post for sale to satisfy their delinquent taxes. As you see, on February 1st, the amount that was handed over to our office was $3,243,369. And from that date to April 30th, we have collected $1,348,919. Let's see, and late rendition penalty for our new board members. What that is, in case you don't know, what that is when businesses receive their tax renditions, like we do for our homes, says your property is valued at X amount of dollars. Do you agree or disagree? And do you want to make changes? By law, if they don't respond by the deadline, a late rendition is a 10% late rendition penalty is automatically tacked onto their taxes. So members of the audience, any business owners, if you get that rendition, make sure you fill it out. Because even if nothing changes, if you don't return it, you get 10% penalty charge on there. So thank you. This concludes my report for this year. Thank you for your support and continued confidence in our firm. And I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank
May
you
I
very
be excused?
much.
Thank
Yes,
you.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to agenda item 4B, Child Nutrition Department Overview.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Mr. Gonzalez, administrators, and members of the audience. We bring to you this evening a PowerPoint presentation of the Child Nutrition Department. Joining us is Ms. Ana Gutierrez. She is the Department Accounting Manager, who will be presenting our department financial overview. Also joining us is Ms. Ariana Valdez. She is our Department Operations Manager. She will be presenting a nutrition overview. And I'm Raul Ramirez. I'm the Child Nutrition Director. And Ms. Ana Gutierrez will start off with the financial overview. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Hello. Okay, so I'll briefly be talking about our participation in our reimbursement, our revenue. So pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. So if we look at the numbers of our average daily participation, our breakfast is in blue, our lunch numbers are in orange, and our snacks, after-school snacks, are in gray. So we saw a decline the year the pandemic hit in 1920. And 2020, 2021 was our lowest. But slowly our numbers have been coming up, and this year we have an estimated amount of 20,000 breakfasts, 29,000 lunches, which is still a little bit short from pre-pandemic numbers. The next slide is similar to the first one. It shows our total meals. So if we look at the numbers, it shows the same pattern. Our numbers dropped that first year and significantly dropped when we went to virtual learning in 2020, 2021. Even though we did serve breakfast in the bag, we did breakfast and lunch in the bag, our numbers were still low. Last year, the numbers started coming up, and this year we expect them to come close, but we're still a little bit short from pre-pandemic numbers. This third slide shows our reimbursement numbers. This is the money we receive from the government depending on the number of meals that we serve our students. So 18-19, we saw a decrease, of course, that first year. The lowest was in 2020, 2021 when we were doing virtual learning. In 21-22, we saw a significant increase, not only because our students went back to the classroom, but also the United States Department of Agriculture allotted additional funds to our reimbursement rates. So this year, we are projecting our numbers to be a little bit higher than last year, so it looks good. So Ariana Valdez will continue with the presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'll be covering the nutrition guidelines that we have to follow. So we currently are under the Texas Department of Agriculture, which is under the umbrella of the United States Department of Agriculture. And we have to follow the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act of 2010, as well as the dietary guidelines. For our lunch guidelines, we have to have, obviously, our 5 components, which is our milk, our fruits, our vegetables, grains, and meats. That changes depending if it's in elementary, how much they have to have a week, middle school, high school. The same thing for the grains and the meat alternates. And our vegetables have subgroups. We have to offer different color vegetables every week. So we want to focus a little more on our guidelines when it comes to our calories, sodium, and saturated fat and trans fat that we have to provide. So our calories allowed per day is 550 to 650 at the elementaries, 600 to 700 at the middle schools, 750 to 850 at the high schools. That is averaged out by the 5 days. So we're going to have maybe a day in the elementary where the calories are 500 for the day, but the next day it might be 675, as long as we average out those 5 days to 500 to 650 max. And we cannot exceed that, like not even by 1 calorie when the auditors come, and every time. Our sodium also is very restrictive. We have to offer less than 1,230 milligrams of sodium for the elementary, 1,360 for the middle, and the high school is 1,420 milligrams average per week. So a day, and then you average it out by the 5 days. Saturated fat for all grade levels has to be less than 10%, and the Department of Agriculture does not allow any type of trans fat, which is a preservative, and it's not good for us, so it's 0 in any of our products, cannot have it. Our breakfast nutrition guidelines under the school breakfast program, we have to offer 3 of the food groups. It's still under the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act and the Dietary Guidelines for Americans. We have the 3 food groups, which is the fruit, the milk, and the grains. As you can see, protein is not a required item at breakfast, but we do, once we meet the grain guideline, we're able to offer proteins in the breakfast items. And currently we have breakfast in the classroom at all the elementary and middle schools. So for the sodium, for the nutrition guidelines for calories for the elementary, middle, and high, as you see again, there's a range between 350 to 500 for elementary, middle is 400 to 550, high school is 450 to 600 calories. That's per day and then averaged out per week for that breakfast item. And as you can see, middle school will overlap with elementary, and it also overlaps with high school, and it's the same for the lunch. Our sodium is even more restrictive at breakfast time, so we have to provide less than 540 milligrams per week, 600 for the middle, and 640 for the high school. Again, less than 10% total calories from total fat, saturated fat, and 0 trans fat. So we wanted to kind of share a little comparison because we know you all get the calls that my child maybe doesn't like the item or the food. So let's compare like our child nutrition, cheeseburger fries are peaches, which are in their juices, and then milk. And I have nothing against McDonald's, but compared to like a very popular restaurant, which is McDonald's, right? Cheeseburger fries, their medium drink. And then compared to our home, let's say if we make a ham and cheese sandwich with bread, Doritos, a handful of Doritos. That's not like the whole grab bag, you know. The Gatorade, and 3 Chips Ahoy cookies, which, you know, that's hard to do. So our calories that we have for our average meal, and I did middle school because of the overlap, is the 618 calories, where you compare to fast food could be 1,050 for the day, and even 1,000 at home. Sodium, again, 910 milligrams is what we offer for that meal, 1430 for the fast food, and then the home meal could be even up to 1864, especially with the ham and the cheese, they're very high in sodium. Our total fat is 19.6. Saturated fat is the less than 10%, is the 7.5 grams, and then trans fat 0. So, and then you have the, obviously the fast food, 45, 14.5 saturated fat, 1.5 trans fat. And at home, it's closer to our fat, total fat, which is the 23.5, and the saturated fat. And if you pick the right items, you can also have foods without trans fat at home. For breakfast, we are doing also the middle school, and it's a pancake chicken sausage sandwich. We'll see a picture of it in a while. And mixed berries, applesauce, juice, and milk. So that pancake chicken is similar to the McGriddle that they have right now at McDonald's. And then there they serve it with the hash brown, juice, and milk. And then at home, let's say you make 2 bacon and egg tacos. This calorie intake does not count for any extra oil or butter added. And then a 1% milk and 100% juice. So our calories are 400, 855 for the fast food, 850 for home. And then sodium, 495 milligrams. And then if you look at the sodium at breakfast, it's, you know, triple, right? So 1552, 1550. Sodium gives food flavor, so we have to restrict that, and that's why, and all our items have to be whole grain. If the students aren't used to that at home, well, it's going to taste different than what they're getting, but we have to follow these guidelines. And then, of course, you see the fat difference of ours, because it's a pancake chicken sausage sandwich provided by companies that are required to meet these guidelines from all the school districts. So 2.5, 33.5, 23.5. I hope no one was going out to eat fast food right now, so sorry if I disappointed y'all. Okay, and so then, of course, 0 fat. So even at home, we can get trans fat.
What is the ingredients in the sausage?
It's a chicken, a lean chicken sausage sandwich.
and the
So it's a
sausage?
pancake, and then it's a chicken and a cheese.
So
But
just,
none of that, I'm sorry,
Yes.
none of it is soy, right?
Some of them will have a soy protein, but for the most part, the products that we have to meet all the guidelines that TDA requires. So the
Does it
vendors,
include soy, is my question.
I would have to look at the ingredients. We can look it up on the menus that we have, but it should have probably a little bit of
Because
soy
that's
protein.
artificial, that's not
Right.
real meat.
Right, but it's considered a meat alternate. So under the TDA guidelines, they're meat alternates. So soy can be a protein used, but for the most part, all our items are like, let's say the chicken sandwich that we have is like a full muscle chicken like the one they sell at Chick-fil-A. So, I mean, it depends on the item.
Yeah, mine has to do with the sausage itself.
Mm-hmm, right.
Sausage patty, correct?
Yes.
So just in case a student does not like what's on the main menu, is there a substitute to that?
Yes, our menu items, for breakfast, we just have the one entree and then the juice, the milk. We do provide menus for special diet, like students who have special dietary needs. For lunch, at all grade levels, elementary, middle, and high, we offer 2 main entree choices. So if they don't like one of them, they can choose one of the others. And then we always want to do a comparison. We work with LISD. We communicate with them often. You know, we said, let's compare what we're serving. So I'm sorry it's so small, but it was hard to get the link to work. So basically, our UISD menu for breakfast is on top, and then the LISD is on the bottom. The ones in yellow are the same products, same company. The ones in orange are same products, different companies. And it could be because of the size of our district that the companies that they're using maybe cannot provide us with the amount we're serving. I mean, there's many different reasons we choose to go with them. And we also do a food show, which we'll show you a video later on that will explain how we choose our food. But about half the items, the same, oops, sorry, went too fast there. So the same thing, sorry, it's so small, but for lunch, the same thing. Our items are on top for lunch, all our main entrees, there's at the bottom. If it's yellow, it means that we have the same product, same food item. If it's orange, it's the same product, different company, or it's in-house. So for example, our spaghetti meat sauce or our taco meat sauce, they're offering a crispy taco, we're offering a crispy taco, but we cook our ground meat in our production just like they cook their ground meat in their production center. And then these are some of the new breakfast items, and the one on top is the pancake McGriddle. And then we have a sausage, cheese, and waffle sandwich, a croissant, a bacon, egg taco. If you notice, all our products are whole grain, even the buttery maple waffle. All our items have to be whole grain, low sodium, low fat. And then these were some of the new lunch items that we offered this school year. So we tried to do like the bento box like kids are taking to school. We did a curly loaded cheese chicken fry with a cornbread. Cornbread is kind of, some kids like it, some don't. The chili fries were like really popular. The bottom, it's like a chipotle type bowl. I mean, not like chipotle like the restaurant, but you know, that style. And that's pretty popular as well. The one that out of all these items, and that's our chicken, or what we call rich fill yay burger, which is a lean muscle chicken breast. The waffle cheese sandwich was not very popular, the one at the bottom with the tomato soup. Because it's such a low-fat cheese, and we don't put butter on the bread, obviously, you're not going to have that cheesy, stretchy pull. So it wasn't that popular, and we removed it from the menu.
Before you move on, I'm sorry.
Yes.
In the previous slide,
This one?
yes, that
Mhm.
waffle cheese.
And sausage.
Okay.
That's an individually wrapped item for breakfast. Mhm.
Does that come melted already? Can the student choose no cheese or?
No, that's a prepackaged, because we do breakfast in the classroom at our elementary and middles. All our items are, the majority of our breakfast items are prepackaged, or we have like a breakfast bar that we package there for them, but it comes made. Mhm. And then that's the lunch. And then we have an app, I'll pass the video, but we have an app that can be used on smartphones for, you can download it on any smartphone, and basically you go into the app and, So you'll go into the app and you can rate the food. So you can see the calories, if it's got an allergen, sodium, fat, and you can rate it from a 1 star to 5 star. And once you rate it, you can add a comment like, maybe it needs more flavor, or I really liked it, etc. Right now I checked just a few, like the chocolate muffin, which they love for breakfast, has a 4.6 out of 5 star rating, but only a 186. So we need to get the word out so that more people will use our app so they can show us that they like it or if they don't. Our calzone has 997 ratings, and it's a 4.5 out of 5. We also have some wings, etc. And then this year, December 13th, and can you play that, Sam? Thank you. So on December 13th, we had a food show. We invited every elementary, middle, and 9th grade campuses to come to our food show. We paid for the transportation for the principals to send the students. Out of all the schools we invited, 18 schools participated. We had a total of 675 students attend the food show. Can you, or is it? It's playing here, but it's not. Oh, well. No. Well, so we had 675 students attend the food show. Basically, we had 56 vendors, and we had a total of 142, there you go, 142 food items that they got to taste. Previous years, we would have them go down each vendor and taste them, but by halfway through, the students would be full. Even though they're bite-sized pieces, it's still 142 items that they're tasting, right? So this time what we did is we told the vendors they're going to go, we had the students all spend one on half the side and then the other half, and the vendors, it was their job to draw them in. They're the ones trying to sell their product. And just so you know, 400 plus votes of the 675 was a beef barbacoa that we plan on menuing next school year, a selfie 5-inch pizza, some yogurt. They love cereal, right? Lucky Charms bar. They had some raisins, and I know kids don't really like raisins, but this one was like a chili lemon pineapple flavor, super popular. They really loved it. I tried it myself. It was really good. And then they liked some bone-in wings, and from 300 to 400 votes, yeah, those are our actual LBJ United High School sent students to go from their culinary arts to go assist the vendors, and they got to taste the food as well. They had a really great time. We had elementary go in the morning, and then middle school went in the afternoon. One of the popular items that had 300 to 400 votes was actual vegetarian chicken nuggets. It was really popular, so it's something that we'll be menuing next school year as well. So we're, no, I didn't give us the ingredients, but it's you know, it's the Impossible Burger Company, and they do a vegetarian nugget. And you'll see a little girl comment on that in the next video we're going to show you all. But
Do we offer salads every day?
no, salads at the high schools is on Wednesdays. We used to have back in the, like salad bars, but we have to really have people watching because the kids will like put stuff in the salad bar or do things. So we went to a pre-plated salad that they can have on Wednesdays, but it's something we can look into. Vegetables is not something kids are very drawn to, unfortunately, but they did try different ones. Like they liked onion rings, and you'll see that one little boy mentions that.
Is that, I'm going to go back to it.
Yes,
Is that
go ahead.
waffle and pancake sandwich popular?
That
Doesn't
one,
look very appealing, I'll be honest with you.
it's actually pretty good. The one that wasn't was a waffle with the cheese, like a grilled cheese waffle sandwich. That one was not popular at all.
We should just eliminate
If I
it.
may, I've tasted, they're actually pretty good.
Yes, right? Yes, no, yeah. And, you know, our staff would tell us, oh, Mr. Gonzalez came by and he tasted what we're serving. And we, you know, invite you all to do the same when you go by or if you go to a campus.
I will be.
Yes, definitely.
I'm
And
scheduled
you're welcome to
be,
come also on a
yes.
tour of our production center so we can show you how we produce the food there as well. But so that was our food show.
When was this in December?
This was December 13th, and we do an annual food show, and that's how we plan. And we have to do it in December because in February, we have to already commit to the vendors of what we're going to order all next school year.
So
So
December
we're ordering
for
like a year in
following school
advance.
year, This coming school year.
This school year, December, we'll have another one.
Do you have a demonstration of what the menu is going to look like, what we're incorporating?
Not
what we're
currently.
taking
Right
out?
now, in the summers when the dietitians will start testing recipes, like if we're going to change anything in our in-house recipes, we'll have the vendors send us products as well, and then we'll do taste tests with the summer school students. So this is when they start tweaking the menu. I can tell you right now that this school year was a 3-week cycle menu, but next school year they're moving it to a 4-week cycle menu. So it's some of the items won't be on as often, so they don't get tired of them. Because initially they start off really good, they like them, then they kind of don't want them anymore, and then come at the end of the year, they start eating them again, like different items. And then I hope this plays, because this one we really would like to have the volume. But, so after the food show, we did a student interview with, we had invited everyone to do the interview, but certain schools contacted us, and you'll see the kids do their interview.
Do we do a survey of like what the kids like to see, like more vegan food or salads or?
Well, the dietitians were working on that, and we're trying to see if there's a way we can do, like through a Google survey, to send out to all the students. And I mean, that way we can get more response back, because you're talking, we got the opinion of 675 students and you know, volunteers, and there's 40,000 students that we're feeding. So with that, we plan our menu, but it would be great for us to be able to send out that survey. I'm sure technology and ITV can probably help us send that out, so that before, you know, the school year, when we start the menu items, especially when they're new, they can rate it, let us know, and then we can tweak if we need to.
That'll
But
be
since we
great.
commit to the companies, we have to, let's say we commit to a company for them to process whole grain, then if we decide the kids don't like it, then we're going to need to see what other item that company has, because we've committed to that company for so many servings. So we have to estimate for a whole year in advance.
I can definitely see if you present it, especially at the high school
Mm-hmm.
level. You know, they'll start taking the salads. They'll start
Yes.
taking the more healthier options.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of these kids are in sports. A lot of these kids, you know, are a little bit more conscious about what they eat.
Right.
So, I would
Yes.
like to see that.
Definitely.
Well, just don't get rid of the spaghetti.
No, I know my sons say that it's better than ours, and I'm like, what? And then I buy whole grain pasta at the house. They're like, well, no, yours isn't as good. And I'm like, it's the meat sauce that we make. The meat sauce is really popular.
Love the spaghetti. I would go
Yes.
eat with them when there was spaghetti.
Yes, and actually, one of our, okay, well, they haven't played the video yet,
Those are the
but.
best donuts.
I'm sorry. They haven't played the video yet, but that bottom breakfast bar, we'll still get calls from people who've graduated to see if we can sell them a
I
case.
love those.
Yes. Y'all know, everybody, yes.
I'll cheer
And-
my time for that.
Yes, that one, they're like, ma'am, can you sell me a case, you know? The honey bun, which is a goodie bun, that they really like that one. Again, it's whole grain. Our super donut, really, if you open it, it smells kind of like vitamins because it's whole grain. It has all these
That's the super donut,
nutrients,
that's
but they
good.
love it. Of course, sausage cheese sandwich and the ham and cheese.
I only have one
Yes.
or two questions.
Sure.
How do you measure the amount of children that are actually, let's say in elementary, do you have a standard number of kids who are going to eat? Or, in the middle school and the high school? Because I know that we've had some issues. Mr. Ramirez is nodding, yes, we do. So I know we've had some issues, let's say athletes who go from the main campus, push over to the freshman campus, the freshman students, they don't make it in time for lunch, and so they end up eating, bag of Doritos
So-
or something.
Thank you for the question. So the high school students actually, the athletes, the coaches talk to our cafeteria managers, and they will allow the kids, the student athletes to go. And we actually extend breakfast at the high schools and a few middle schools. We can't serve breakfast after 10 a.m. So we'll let them go until 9:50. So a lot of the athletes, if they want, there's an opportunity for them to get breakfast. So we'll serve breakfast till the time the principal says, let's say at the high school, 8:40.
But no later than 10:50.
We cannot serve any breakfast after 10 a.m. After 10 a.m.
And-
As well as band members.
Right.
they're
And,
also
or anyone who's
allowed.
off first block that gets there, they can go get breakfast.
So that's just one of the, that's
One.
about the only thing I've heard, from some people that have kids who are in band, or football, or something. They don't make that 10:50 time, so they end up either not eating or. But the other item I used to get was the quality of food. I haven't heard it lately, but people would send you pictures.
Right.
They post it on
Oh,
social
yes, we see
media
it.
and about the quality of food. I
Right.
haven't heard that lately, but I'm hoping that we're addressing that issue.
Yes.
And the last one, the one that I kind of just kicks me in the head all the time is, what do we do with all the leftover food? Is it true that we have to?
Well,
rid of it,
if
or-
it's heated, yes. But what our staff does, and I think when it comes both for the quality and if we run out or if we have leftover. So our staff does what's called batch cooking. So, and it's a little hard at the elementaries because the schedule's like kinder, first, second, right, back to back. But so they do batch cooking. They know how many students are between kinder or pre-kinder through second grade. So they start preparing for that amount. As they see what's going, because we have the two choices, they'll start saying, okay, this one's going more, we still have this, let's make more of this. And so they add more. So it's kind of like when you go to a restaurant. They're not going to make 100 hamburgers and hope 100 customers walk in. That's what our staff does. So they do, it's called batch cooking. So that helps a lot when it comes to, do we have a lot of leftovers? No, not typically. Unless it's where we've had leftovers is, let's say, there's a water issue and they're sending the kids home and we've prepared some of the food, then we might have some leftover. But we try and help by saying, you know what, let's go to call this school. If they haven't prepared yet, we transport it to that other school so that we're not just throwing all that food away.
But it is true that we are not allowed to, with any leftover food, the district cannot, donate it or I think the answer, I know the answer to the
Yes.
question. I've been told no, but I just don't understand.
And
the
I think we
concept.
have mentioned, like with the food bank, but we don't have like the capability to take it and they say, well, we can't come get it. We have donated items to the food bank that maybe the menu changed, it was something that wasn't popular, we already had it in stock, and then we contact them, we have to do a whole paperwork through TDA saying we're going to donate so much food, what we're going to donate it, and then they'll come by and they'll pick it up when it's like a large product like that.
Okay,
One thing is
but we do
whenever
donate
had,
it.
Shelter situations with the city of Laredo, we donated food for their shelters as well. As long as
Like
we
on the
document-
freeze?
Yeah, so there is some exceptions, because I was
Yes.
told that, employees, hey, there's a lot of food left over, can they take some home? No, we can't.
There has to be special circumstances.
Yes.
Which I thought was kind of,
The other thing
Yeah.
too is sometimes a lot of the issues that have come up that I've been aware of, they're prepackaged items. So a lot of, when they open them up, there's things that we've discovered. So we report that back to the company, and ultimately it's the manufacturer that has sent that item to us that way.
And we always share with our staff members to try the food. They have to eat the food so that they know that its quality is good, that they taste
Yes.
good. So yes, we always encourage them.
And they have to keep track of all the temperatures. And another thing we do to safeguard in case there's any issues is every day we save our breakfast plate and our lunch plate and we keep it in the freezer for 5 days. In case there's an issue, they say, oh, the kids are getting sick, the health department can come, pick up our plate, test it, and they'll tell us, no, it's fine. They check our temperature logs, they check what we cooked it at. So we do that. So we try not to have a lot of leftover, but if it happens, it's not allowed to be necessarily given out. And what we don't want to do either is that they'll say, oh, I can give it to people, so they'll just always produce more to have left over, So you want to just make sure that what we're providing is for the students, because the reimbursement and everything we have is for our students for
I
their
mean,
meals.
you got family, let's say, who, that may be their only meal. You got students, that may be their
Right.
only meal of the day.
Yes,
And so,
understand.
you know that, counselors may know that. And so,
Yes.
you know, here, take a couple of plates home, that's not allowed.
Right.
And so, that just, you know, just seems a little harsh when.
What we've done-
When you have to throw it away.
Right, and what we've done in the past, prior to the pandemic, we had a table in the cafeteria that was called a share table. So let's say I'm a student and I had a prepackaged item, whether it be an applesauce or my milk or my juice, I would put it there because I wasn't going to eat it, and another child can come and get it. But during the pandemic, they froze that, so we're hoping now that things are better that we can put that share table back out there so that the students can
That
have.
would be great.
And I'm not
Yes.
so concerned about leftovers. I'm more concerned about there not being enough food. Because pre-pandemic, not lately, I did get a call from Alexander High School where students there was just no more food.
Right.
So they were hungry. They just would go to class without eating.
And normally, and usually at this high schools, middle and elementary, there's always administration there. So usually what happens is because they are batch cooking, because they don't want to have a lot of leftover, so they make the batch cooking. Yes, once in a while they're going to be short on the item, so they'll tell the students, just wait a minute, it's in the oven, it's coming out. So I know for a child that's like, they ran out of food, mom or dad, or, but the principals will allow them to stay and have their meal if they want.
If you cook fettuccine Alfredo in Chick-fil-A, that right there.
And spaghetti.
Spaghetti,
Everybody-
pizza, just,
everybody- everybody-
yes.
So can you explain what is batch cooking?
Batch cooking is, in other words, if I'm a school of 600, I'm not going to cook 600 meals. I'm going to start off with 250, 300 meals to be ready, and as those are going, I'm cooking more so that they're coming out just
Is
in
that
time.
cooking from the beginning through the end, or is it already pre-packaged?
It depends on well, they're not for lunch, it's not a prepackaged item. For breakfast, we send it out in the classroom, so we would send the food that they need at their
In the
schools.
package.
In the package, and they bag the food for them,
I think
like a
that's where
grab and
I've
go.
gotten most of the concerns of breakfast, where it's packaged and they don't care for that taste because it's packaged. So I've never been able to properly answer their questions, but
Right.
that's why I'm asking you.
Okay. Breakfast in the classroom, they'll package like the juice, the milk, and the fruit in one bag, and then the heated item, and then that's what they take together, but they have to take all 4 items.
And one of the major factors there is that we like to do that because, so that we know that the kid, that the student gets a meal and they running a little bit late or whatever, they actually get to their meal and they have a chance to eat, but they don't go hungry.
Plus the difficulty of having a tray to go to the classroom, right? So it has to be a packaged meal.
Prepackaged
that's
bag.
transportable.
Makes
Transported,
sense.
yes.
Absolutely. So I have a question for you.
Yes.
The after school snacks, what students are eligible for that?
Actually, if there's any type of tutorial at those campuses, any student that stays, you don't have to be enrolled in the after-school care program. So let's say a teacher stays to do tutorials and her children are there, they can also go get an after-school snack. At the middle and high school, I know sometimes they're like, well, can athletes get a snack? They can only get a snack if there's tutorials. So let's say they do tutorials at the high school Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, then on those days, athletes can go, or band, or whoever stays after school can go get a snack. But if there's no educational component, then we can't have a snack given that day.
It's not allowable.
And
It's not a reimbursable.
and the snacks are prepackaged as well? Like you have snack bags, grab and goes, or?
No, usually they pass through the cafeteria line.
Okay.
Because the majority of the after-school programs are in the cafeteria.
So,
So the interviews, we weren't able to show them, but we'll send them out to
Okay,
you for Friday.
perfect.
for
No
your
worries.
information.
Perfect.
and we had school and Cheero Day on Friday, and we're very proud to work with our staff, and thank you always for your continued support.
Thank you.
Of course,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you for explaining.
Yes, and whenever you all are welcome to go by.
Yes, thank you all, and we invite you to go by the food production.
For the
center.
beef barbacoa taco.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe
I'll
for
be
the
having-
summer, for training.
I'll be having lunch with our
3,000
students, so.
calories right there.
Okay, moving on. Agenda item 4C.
Thank you.
Early College High School Programs Leadership Advisory Report.
Good evening, members of the board, Mr. Gonzalez, members of the audience. My name is Angie Sanchez. I'm the CT director, and I also oversee the early college program. So before I start, I really want you to look at this slide because all 4 mascots are on this slide. And so next year, we will be starting with, finally, after 9 years, we will be starting next year with Alexander and United High School that we started 9 years ago. And again, an early college program targets, it's supposed to target our economically disadvantaged as part of the state requirement and our at-risk students, but we do a lottery program, so we give everybody that opportunity. And so again, we started in 2015, and we are in 2023, and we're excited about this fall. When we did our lottery back in February, these are our incoming freshmen from all our middle school feeders. And so, again, we're servicing our economically and at risk. And then we also service all our populations, which includes special ed, GT, and our 504 students. So let's start with United South High School. They're in their second year. Both classes have 99 students in each, and we are, again, servicing our at-risk and our economically disadvantaged. When we're asking for students, what we do is, our goal is to make sure that they get that associate's degree. And so right now, freshman year, they don't need that TSI. It's very different compared to our early start. You don't need a GPA requirement, and we don't need the TSI at the very beginning, because freshman year, you don't need that TSI for those courses. You need it sophomore year. So the early college works intensely with the freshman class to make sure they pass that TSI before they get to that 10th grade when they're going to need it. So that's where we target them. And so right now we have in the ELAR, the reading and writing, we have 52% that are there at meeting their TSI, and 10th grade we are at 88%. So these numbers are pretty high for where they're at right now. Now, LBJ has been in existence for 9 years already. There are the numbers for the, again, at risk and economically disadvantaged, so we are servicing those students. But I really want to target on how we're doing in terms of our associate's degree. We had, and we've been hearing that horrible word, COVID. COVID really, really impacted our programs, and not necessarily just with us and all programs, STAR, and whatever it is that we offered, because junior year, the junior class here are the kids that were home freshman year. And that's the year we have to test them to be ready to continue. So those interventions were very difficult to do online. It was very difficult to offer that TSI virtually. As a district, we were scrambling how we're going to test these kids. So we knew these kids were going to be impacted, and we're seeing the numbers. However, we still have some kids that are going to meet their associates. We also have kids, and it's important to note that when these kids pass that TSI, at that point they jump into those courses. So they're not removed from the program. So some kids may have jumped in maybe in fall semester of junior year. So they still are going to graduate with 30, 40, 50 hours. They just weren't able to make that associate 60-hour course. Yeah. So you're going to notice, look at 11th grade year, how we've dropped 56, and our seniors 58%. But look carefully at the 10th graders. They already have 106 out of their 130 that have met TSI. Those kids are back. So see how we're climbing back up, because we're back face to face. And so they are already at where the seniors are at, which were impacted. All right? Mm-hmm. So that's the Associates of Arts. To date, they have graduated, LBJ has graduated 354 students with an associate's degree. And this Friday, is it this Friday? Yes, right? We'll be graduating about 130 more from both our BLISTIA program and our early college over from LBJ. So we're really happy about that. Those are great numbers there.
Great work.
And then we have our biotechnology. We just say BLISTIA because it's so long to say, right? So this is our Associates of Science. This is our most difficult program because it focuses on your sciences. You're taking your anatomies, you're taking your biologies, and you cannot take those classes if you don't pass your math TSI. And if you recall, again, those juniors, they were exempt from STAR because that's another way you can become eligible. Those kids didn't take STAR, so we didn't have an option there for those kids. And we're going to see the numbers. Again, those are our at-risk and our ECO-DIS kids, so we are servicing those students. And look at the numbers here. So again, that junior year, we were hit by COVID. But again, we're going back up, and our students are coming back up, and some of these kids were taking anatomy when they had to jump online in March. And so that was traumatic for them because those were difficult classes. But again, we were able to get some students to graduate, and majority of these students were graduating with over 30, 40, 50 hours. And then we're going to graduate our third year students. So far, they've graduated 126 students. So together, we've graduated 480 students from LBJ High School.
Fantastic.
And then because the BLISTIA program focuses on health science, so all their electives are in health science. And so they also offer industry-based certifications for their students. We have the Certified Clinical Medical Assistant, the Registered Dental Associates, phlebotomy, and pharmacy. So 2021, it was difficult to do because they were virtual, and there's a lot of hands-on certifications that are needed. We try to bring them in the summer with masks, and some students said, I'm still not going, and some said, I'll be there. And so that's why we have some numbers, but we're back on track having face-to-face. And those are just our community partners that we work with. Our students go out to these entities, and they're very, very, they provide a lot of support for our students. We visit the hospitals. So these are just some of the partners. Here are some photos of the kids doing their work-based learning for the Blicia program. And that is it for my presentation. Any questions?
Have you all ever tracked
Where they're going?
well, being that they were economically disadvantaged, and like, let's say LBJ, for example, being that they had maybe perhaps a higher level of economic disadvantage in that area, that was the reason, one of the reasons that your
We selected
college
that.
went there. So perhaps it would be a game changer, given that it was because of the economic situation, many students were not going on to college,
Correct.
Perhaps going into the labor force and just were turned away. Given that that door has been opened for them, is there any way to track
Yes, there
if
is.
those students have gone on to receive a bachelor's, or what they've done with that associate's degree?
Yes.
in
I,
that?
I can answer that one for sure. We do have a lot of success stories, and actually we talked about that for our kids when we did our advisory presentation to our leadership committee. But we recently have a membership with the National Clearinghouse, and that will tell us exactly where they're going. We just haven't had the time to kind of do that yet, but we can definitely work on that. So once we get those numbers and we get that access, then we can go ahead and get those numbers for you.
Fair
But
enough.
we do have
I
access.
can tell you that one is graduating from Texas A&M College Station on Thursday. in the bottom of
That's the
science
exception to
degree.
the economic
Economic disadvantage, we had 5.
Yeah. And she's named after me. She sure is. And she's getting biomed like I did, so. I'm
But again,
very
we
proud
want to
of her.
really thank you for your support.
And she's a
to make
product
this
of that,
possible.
so, awesome.
That's awesome.
I want to recognize Ms. Sanchez. She does really well with the program.
Great work. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Thank you.
My glasses. Moving on to agenda item 4D, district-wide magnet enrollment report for 2023-2024.
Good evening, board members, Mr. Gonzalez, and members of the audience. As a student at United High School, I do miss the enchiladas.
The enchiladas.
So this year, with the magnet programs, we had approximately 908 applications, a lot less than what we're accustomed to because of the early colleges that are coming into play. Out of those, we had 848 that tested with the COGAT assessment. 808 were from UISD, and the other 40 were from the private entities. So you have that in the last column. So I'm showing you data from past years so that you can see how the program has improved. In reference to the number that got accepted, we had 452. We made some phone calls. We rank them from 1 to 848, and then we start making phone calls. And as we call the students, the ones that are ranked number 1 all the way to 848, we stop at a certain point until all the programs have 150 students. So from within the district, we had 422, and from out of the district, we had 30. So you'll see that 151 was for Alexander, United was 150, and United South was 151 after we made 579 phone calls. So what do we look at? Well, first of all, in order to qualify to take the assessment, they have to have an 80 average in these core courses. We look at their 7th grade report card, and we look at their 8th grade report card. Then we assess them. We give them the COGAT, Cognitive Abilities Test. And from there, we discovered that 543 of the 648, which is 64%, got an average score of 50 or better. The highest score you can get is a 99 on the COGAT. And that is a very unique assessment. It's not like the achievement test that they're accustomed to. It's not the STAR. So it measures the development of reasoning abilities that are essential for success in school. So we're looking at verbal reasoning, quantitative mathematical reasoning, and nonverbal figural reasoning. So overall, we look at the grades. We weigh them at 60%, and then we weigh the COGAT assessment at 40%. So based on that, we pretty much come up with an overall average, and that's how we ended up ranking them. So for example, John Doe has a 100 weight average from his 7th and 8th grade report card, We take 60% of that, that's 60 points. John Doe got a high score of 99, so that's weighted 40%. So that comes out to 39.6 points. So when we add it together, it's about 99.6. So their final composite score is 100. So that's the score that we use to rank them. So in summary, entrance into any magnet program is very competitive. Candidates must all exemplify above average academic achievement, as you saw from the scores, and above average aptitude. Evidence supports applicants' commitment to a specialized field of study. At Alexander, it's health. At United, it's engineering. At United South, it's business. So here's pretty much the summary of what is still happening. So we sent out a total of 260 non-acceptance letters, the ones that didn't get a phone call. And we also had about 124 that declined an offer because they really wanted one magnet school over the other. Most of them are from the private entities that declined the offer because they wanted to go to a certain magnet school. So as of now, we are still pending the parent meeting, which is scheduled for next week, the day after the board meeting. Any questions?
I'm sorry. Private entity would be like a...
United Day, Mary Help, St. Augustine,
Any of the...
Harvest,
Yeah, that's what I was, okay, yeah.
Harmony.
So will there be a makeup meeting for this mandatory?
For the parent meetings? Yes. We usually have the counselors from each of the magnet programs contact the parents, or the parents contact them, and they set up a meeting for them to be able to
I think it
give
was-
them the
I'm not sure, I
information.
guess it was the early college one, or the MAG one that was scheduled for Wednesday originally. They moved it, yeah. They moved it to Thursday, which now you have like athletic banquets and all sorts of other events going on, so.
Yeah, we give them an opportunity to make it up because we realize there's all these other activities that are taking place.
That was my next question. Can you do dual?
Right.
And that's the issue also. So if they're having it on the same day and they belong to both early college and magnet, then they would have to make arrangements to meet their needs.
So which is the school that they prefer?
It's always Alexander that fills up first.
Is there
After-
any way to accept more students? Do we have the room to?
Well, we used to accept 100, and then we went up to 150, so it might be time to look at probably raising the number. But because of the early college programs, it's sort of like causing it to level off, and also the number of teachers. Anything?
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Agenda item E, teacher incentive allotment presentation.
Good evening. Emma Leza, Associate Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, and I have here also Ms. Clotilde Games, who I do have to say has been instrumental in putting all of this program together, including manuals and everything that for the teachers. So we're very happy to say that we were completely validated as our program as was submitted to the state for the first year. So that was our data capture year one. We've waited to announce this because there were several different procedures that had to happen at the state, and we just finally last week had the last one that says, okay, all of our data is right, all of our teachers are designated, those that met the criteria. So we're here in May. By the end of May, TEA will send them a letter, but we will have letters and scorecards to our teachers by Thursday. We had a total of 247 teachers participate. This was the LBJ feeder pattern. There was 3 criteria. They had to have their T-test score, they had to have their student growth measure score, and then they had to have STAR results, either achievement or progress. And I'll explain that in the scorecard in just a minute. Of the 247, we had 41 teachers that met the criteria in each area. 18 of them are designated as a master teacher for 5 years. 8 of them will be designated as exemplary teachers for 5 years, and 15 will be designated as recognized for 5 years. Now, our first year, we captured data for 2 years. We sent the first year. This is the information that I'm presenting right now. In October, we will submit the second year. So some of those 247 teachers that were not designated will have an opportunity to be designated, if criteria is met.
Will they be designated for the full 5? Or will it
Full
just be-
5, full 5. So,
That's only LBJ feeder pattern.
only
Yeah.
LBJ feeder.
And your second year is South feeder pattern?
No, second year, the first 2 years was LBJ feeder pattern. We're starting next school year with the United South High School feeder pattern.
At what point are you going to include Alexander United? I
The-
know the economically disadvantaged is, well,
No, not the economically disadvantaged comes to play in the designation amounts, in the allotment amounts. So if you have a campus that has the fewer number of economically disadvantaged students, they'll be paid at the lower end. For example, at the recognized 6,300. But at the higher end, for example, some of our LBJ campuses will be
we have a
8,500.
slew of teachers on this side.
Absolutely.
I agreed on the first time to LBJ because you wanted to capture those teachers and retain them there, and perhaps this was an incentive. But, we got to include some of the
Absolutely.
some of the areas on this side, and from Washington Middle, to United Middle, to Troutman Middle, the elementaries, Clark Elementary,
Yes.
Everybody
we need to include, make it district-wide. LISD, I believe,
is district-wide.
is district-wide
Yeah.
as well, so.
They were only middle schools for this past year, and their 2 years has to be middle schools. So the application is every April. So yes, by next April, we will be including all of the schools.
I think the opportunity should be there for all our teachers.
Absolutely.
I think
to
LA is,
apply.
yeah, different criteria as well.
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then
And we're
I
looking
think
at,
ours was a little strict.
we're looking at
Yeah.
criteria as well, because we also, right now, our plan is only for teachers that have star scores, okay, either star or star alt scores. And so we have to look at a plan that's going to allow every single
Yeah,
teacher to be able
I
to
agree.
be part of that. So that is, we're heading a task force this year. We're starting this coming, as soon as we get back in August with our task force, teachers will be part of that so that we can have a system that will be validated. That's also something very, very important. I'm going to give you an example, Brownsville ISD. First year they were validated with their data. They had a pilot, only a group of campuses. Second year they went district-wide, they were not validated. So we've got to make sure that our system is sound and it's, we have ways of collecting that data and proving it to the state. It's a very, very strenuous process to make sure that we get validated.
So LISD was not district-wide then, you're saying? It was
Last
just-
year, they were not district-wide.
But this year, are they district?
I'm not sure how they're going next year because I really haven't had an opportunity to speak to them. But I do know that they had to have turned in their application in April because in our April application is where we expanded to the United South High School feeder pattern.
So maybe in your planning, you can let us know what the hurdles you believe are for validation by including some of these other campuses on this end of the
Yeah, absolutely.
whether you want to do middle schools or all elementary schools.
Actually, when we go full, and that's, the direction Mr. Gonzalez has given us as well. When we go full, we're going to go full all teachers. So that's why this next year, this next fall semester, let me put it that way, we have to have a very, very good plan because we must submit in April that plan to the state so that they can approve our application and we can go district-wide. All teachers, pre-K, 12.
And I agree, a very good plan, but I don't agree a very hard plan. Because you could make it impossible, and then that's not fair.
Right.
Because it could go to LISD and maybe it's easier to get.
Right, and we're
What the
looking.
state is offering.
We're looking at all of
Yeah.
that. Ms. Gamis has been doing extensive research in districts throughout the state of Texas, and we're looking at the different modalities that they have for their plans so that we can make sure we adopt a very sound plan and absolutely something that is attainable.
Yeah, we don't want to lose the forest for the trees, so.
Right.
And I think, the teachers, it could affect morale, knowing that at LISD you have a better shot than at UISD, and there could be
That's a lot of
some.
money.
Yeah,
That's
it's
a
a
lot
lot
of
of money. $30,000, very
For 5
nice
years.
salary, for 5 years is.
Yes, correct.
Is a good amount of money.
And I'll tell you that even with our first year, there have been some changes. So let me continue. This is one of the changes, the spending plan. When we came together, and this was pre-pandemic, when we came together as committees, we talked about with principals, we talked about with teachers, and we understood that one teacher does, I was a 5th grade teacher. I didn't get my results by myself. It had to be 4th grade teacher, 3rd grade teacher.
Right.
It's vertical alignment, right? So we've got to make sure that we're all working towards the same goal, which is student achievement. So when we looked at this spending plan, that's why it was agreed upon with the committees that the teacher would only receive 75% of the allotment, 15% would go to the teachers in the campus. And that's the spending plan that we are currently on. So when we distribute in May through the Business and Finance Department, they're going to, the designated teachers will get 75%, 15% will go to the teachers in the campus. That's the way our spending plan is written. We, again, looking at that and researching throughout the state, we noticed that most of the districts are going 90-10. 90% to the designated teacher, 10% for the cost of the program, because there's a lot of costs involved. So we surveyed our teachers, and our teachers came back and told us, no, we want to go 90-10. So we have adjusted our April 17th, this April 17th, we adjusted our application. Next year, we will go into the 90-10 spending plan, and that is from our teachers, directly from those that are participating.
So the 10% would go to the campus?
No, the 10% stays at the district for cost of the program.
Okay, and
the 90%
to the
goes
teacher.
to, and that's the way the state had put out the plan in the first place. Mhm. Okay. So again, this is just again explaining the 75%. The 15% will go to all teachers. Now we are going to let the teachers know this year, those that are in part of receiving the 15%, that this will be a one-time payment, because next year we will roll over into the 90-10. So we already have drafted letters for that as well. This is the scorecard. So 40% of the score is based on T-test, which is a teacher's evaluation. We count all walkthroughs and we count the final observation. And we have to look at two areas, which are domains 2 and 3 of T-test, that deal with the direct instruction and deal with the classroom environment and culture. So they have to earn an average score of a 3.7 to even meet that threshold. The other one is student growth measure. This is, the first two are in statute, Texas education law. And so student growth measure, every teacher has to select one class and determine where their students are when they start with them and where that teacher will take the students at the end of the course, at the end of the year. So that is a process that we've been implementing since 2018 based on statute. And then the last one, this was our district committee decision, was going to be based on STAR. But we look at either achievement or progress. So we look at whether the students progress to level. And that's what we focused on for coming back from pandemic 2021. You know, you saw the scores that were not what our norm is. 2022, we were back on kind of like what Ms. Sanchez presented for early college. So this is the scorecard that the teachers will receive. We have built this program. This is a United ISD program that takes all of this data from DMAC, from IRIS, and from STAR data files to be able to put these scorecards together. Now, we did not release these scorecards this year, and that was a decision that we made because we were never validated before. This was our first run, and we needed to make sure that everything that we had was accurate. In October of 2023, we will submit data year 2, and we will have, by that time, all the teachers will have their scorecards in October. So that's our plan to, again, be very transparent with this.
When you say they will get their scorecard, they'll see their scores?
Yes, they'll see
Okay.
their scores.
So if we go district-wide, not every teacher, the STAR test?
No, and remember, in our plan and in our application, those were the only teachers that were eligible.
But we're going to hopefully change that?
Yes.
Okay. So then that will change as well?
Yes, and it will probably it could only be between T-test and student growth measure. Those must be on a scorecard. They must. It is by statute.
Okay.
Okay.
And those are very subjective or objective?
They are both.
Okay.
If you really look at it, T-test, there has to be a preponderance of evidence. When the administrator goes into the classroom, they have to see with the T-test rubric that the instruction is being more facilitated than teacher directed, because really we want to make sure we facilitate the learning for our students. So that is the difficult part. However, I will tell you that we have gone through TEXI trainings. TEXI is a company that works directly with the state on TIA, Teacher Incentive Allotment, and we're going to develop a calendar for our teachers. T-test is not a secret. There is a rubric out there. Every teacher knows that that's how they are evaluated. So we are going to create calendars. We're going to say this week, this is what we're going to focus on. We're going to focus on discipline, on procedures, so that teachers know that when an administrator walks in, the evidence that's being sought is evidence at that accomplished level so they can meet that particular score. So we're going to provide all of the support that we need to, but of course, yes, it depends on what is witnessed in that classroom at that time for the
You hope
walkthrough of the
administrator
observation.
and the teacher get along sufficiently.
Yeah, and the administrator is trained properly in
Yes,
how to.
we have done calibrations and we will continue to calibrate with TEXI for this purpose.
Yeah, I agree with you, 100%.
I have a question. On the 41 teachers that got this award, this has been the first year or second year?
This is the first year.
First year.
Mhm.
Okay. So next year will be
Next year will
they're
be there.
granted for 5 years.
They're for 5 years.
Whatever we do from here on.
And I'm going to
will
tell you,
change.
if I'm a teacher that's at recognized, my data can still be submitted because I might be able to go
Masters.
to exemplary or go to masters.
Still have that option.
Absolutely. Mhm.
But once you're at masters, you're at masters for 5 years.
For 5 years.
So they
Yes,
can-
once at masters, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the only thing is, there's also expectations. So students that don't do well on STAR should be enrolled in the classrooms for those master teachers.
So I guess that's the student growth measure. For example, if you're going to, just on a side note, I'm thinking about this walkthrough. Let's say the principal assigns the teacher a lower performing class of students, and so from the previous year, perhaps you had all the the excelling students, and so now it's a different ballgame for the teacher, and so.
But on student growth measure, Mr. Montemayor,
That's
the
what I'm-
teacher is the one that evaluates. There is a student rubric. They're supposed to evaluate every one of their students. And it may very well be that this teacher is going to say, these 5 students are at beginner, and the only place I'm going to take them to is intermediate. That is at the teacher's discretion.
But that one has to be in there by statute. Is that
Yes.
what you said?
Mhm. So we have a very comprehensive student growth measure program, and where they keep all of their data. So the teachers always know where they're at. And again, the state requires 5 artifacts to prove that that student has grown.
Is it just one administrator who does the
No, sir.
walkthrough?
No.
Uh,
No.
several
It is,
in the same campus,
it
or
is
from-
all the principal and the assistant principal for the most part at the elementary, and all of the assistant principals at middle schools and high schools. So
when
every
we-
administrator.
When we talk about being subjective, it's across the board a general number that you're going to
When we talk about it being subjective, we talk about subjectivity because of the rubric, but the evidence that they're able to find should be able to substantiate that rating.
But don't you expect that to be consistent across the 3 or 4 different administrators?
Yes, and that's why we calibrate. We have calibration sessions so that our administrators understand, and we have a system that tells them what the average for the campus is and where every administrator is. Yes, that's happening right now, sir. And I can absolutely show you the systems that we have.
So I think, Mr. Garcia, I
Mhm.
think your question was like, in one classroom, I know that several people are assigned this duty, but in one classroom, is there only one observer?
No.
Or so you have like cross-monitoring?
Yes.
Where you have 2 or 3 people coming in, and then you compare their monitoring results.
Mhm.
And so that's sort of like cross-monitoring to make
Yes.
sure that nobody's being biased.
And that's why we calibrate with all of our administrators, and we bring an outside entity, which is TEXI, to help us with the calibration.
Okay.
Have we had any issues with the scoring cards, any feedback from the teachers?
We are just
Anything?
releasing them on Thursday. So we have releasing them on Thursday. On Monday, we have a planned ceremony for those that are designated. I know Mr. Gonzalez's office is going to be sending that information. And then we have on the 16th, we have a session, virtual sessions to meet with teachers that have any questions. However, everything is delineated in the manual that they have had since the very beginning of the program.
Is there anything on that scorecard that teachers have expressed? This is a little too much, or
Not yet. Not yet, because this is our first go
They
around.
haven't gotten
Okay,
it.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
But they probably will.
Yeah, absolutely, and we welcome it. We welcome it so that we can make sure that this
Well,
program.
how can we do it proactively instead of waiting until?
We have to wait because those are the timelines for the state. We cannot, for this year, we had to wait until the state gave us our final validation, and that was just this past Friday.
I guess we're just fighting for our teachers, right?
I know, we are,
Yes.
so are we,
Yes.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. But we do want to make sure that the quality of the instruction is very good, because we want our students to continue to excel.
I just don't want to discourage them in any way. You know, like
Absolutely.
it's as it is. It's very hard for them to they have over 20 students that they need to maintain their attention. You know what I mean? And coming in with those walkthroughs, coming in and having the scorecards, added pressure. I don't want to lose that focus, that drive, that passion that they have for in the classroom, and not being able to capture these funds. There has to be a happy median somewhere.
Absolutely, and that's what we're working towards.
I mean, we're not saying like give it away, but if you can, why not? I mean, I think everybody works really hard. I think
yeah,
there's not
they-
one teacher that doesn't work hard. I
And they
guarantee
stay
you.
late, they go above
Yeah.
and beyond. I mean, there's just so much more that they're not just a number. Do you see what I mean?
We
They're just
understand.
they're not just
No,
a
we
number.
understand.
If I may, I'd like to share, when sometimes we see a particular school or particular administrator whose scores are a little bit lower, then there's communication with them.
I don't want to penalize them. I want to
We want
help
to make sure that
them.
we're trained properly, so we'll go back to that.
Maybe that's what it is, the training.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and that's what I was going to say. We've already
Reinforcement.
had these activities happening this past year, again, training all of the administrators in the T-test calibration methods. We expanded the TIA T-test database, so now what this means is every week we can see where the teachers are at. We can see how close they are to the 3.7, and we have been submitting those records to the principals so that they have opportunities to go into the classroom, and maybe if they didn't see something one day, the next day that they'll go in, they'll see it.
So what is the level of escalation if they don't meet the number, or they
There
don't
is-
come out with a good evaluation?
If
or
they
doing that
don't meet
walkthrough?
one of those criteria, one of those thresholds, they are not part of being designated. And that it was part of the Texas Tech University's validation. We went through 11 points of validation where they looked at different things within our data and within the state of Texas. So again, it has to meet criteria. It cannot just be, haphazardly. It has to be very, very focused. We've trained our TIA campus principals on the validation process. We've monitored our walkthroughs for student growth measure data, and we're training district personnel on process for final validation. So we've done all of that. What are we going to do for next school year? Well, we're adding the United South High School feeder pattern. This is the calendar that I was talking about. We're going to create a calendar, a walkthrough calendar, so everybody knows what's expected. What are they going to come and see? Are they going to be focusing, for example, the first week of school? What should we focus on? Well, we should focus on discipline. We should focus on procedures, because all of that has to be very structured before we can, move on with the instruction. What are our look-fors? Complete teacher scorecards after STAR data is received. So we don't have STAR data right now, and we've already presented to you. We won't have it till August or September. So that's when we're going to complete scorecards. But when we submit our validation in October, we are also going to submit those scorecards to teachers. We will not keep them anymore, because now we know what the process is.
How many walkthroughs does one teacher get in 1 year?
For the TIA process, we were expecting 8 walkthroughs and their observation. And again, because, if there's 2 walkthroughs and the observation, then getting to that 3.7 might be more difficult.
That's in addition to the regular walkthroughs that y'all are doing?
No, these were the walkthroughs. So we have walkthroughs for administrators. First semester, it's 8 per week, 4 per week in the spring semester.
But what about the
But
teacher?
for the teachers, if they were TIA, 8, other teachers, 5. And again, because we're preparing for this. Again, the more walkthroughs, the higher the probability is of getting to that threshold. And we've studied this mathematically, we've looked at our data, so that's, why we have set those parameters. Okay. TEA will inform us if data is validated and approved. If approved, then we will inform the new teachers, and then that's submit our expansion plan for 24-25. That's the task force that we will start this fall, so that we can include all teachers. That is our goal.
When we say all teachers, we mean all teachers.
All teachers,
Pre-K.
12,
Okay.
and including some of the, for example, dyslexia teachers. We want to make sure
Everybody.
everybody.
Perfect.
If these 5 years are completed, can they apply again?
Yes.
Or
After
they
their
give more
5 years,
opportunity to other teachers that haven't?
after the 5 years, if you're a master's, you stay master's, you can't go any higher. But after the 5 years, the master's teachers can apply again. Their data can be submitted again.
Okay.
It all depends on what we have in our application, and that's why we want to expand to all
So
teachers.
is this like indefinite funding?
I'll tell you one thing, and I was presenting to Mr. Gonzalez and to management that our commissioner is a businessman. We know that that's his background. And when they were talking a lot about the pay raises for teachers, their focus was to put more money into this House Bill 3 initiative for TIA because he expects it to be more of a performance-based earning. So we don't know what's happening with the legislature because that closes May 30th, but we do know that they have funded more into this system.
So hypothetical here, could it possibly be that, I don't know, a teacher who's been here many, many years would have a salary of what? Throw out a number. 70.
We have some teachers that have the possibility of earning
Okay.
$28,000
Do they have the
more.
possibility of making more than a principal?
Yes.
Yeah, so that might create some morale issues there also, but that's kind of like, I get it, we want to reward our teachers, but I could see some
30-year
conflicts.
A 30-year teacher right now, elementary school, is probably retiring maybe at 73,000.
Could be. I have
That's-
to defer
that's
to
pretty
the HR.
Is that
Yeah.
pretty accurate?
You know what, if
Well,
our teachers are
I know a
making
couple of
that,
people
I'm
who are retiring
okay
now,
with
and
that, because they're the
Yeah.
ones in the trenches
Absolutely.
working hard.
Oh, no, yes,
Absolutely.
yes. I'm just
Yes.
saying that it creates some awkwardness if you're supervising someone who's making more than you are. And I could see principals going like, wait a
No,
minute, now we
no,
need.
not at all.
Well,
in my,
Not-
where
not
I
at
work,
all.
I make sure that never happens.
Not where I work.
Yeah.
The supervisors will
Well,
always expect the salespeople to
Professional.
make more, because the more they make,
I
the
guess that's a
happier they
private
are,
entity,
the
right?
harder they work.
Yeah, that's private, but I'm talking public entity, you have to follow a salary schedule, and it has to be a legal salary schedule, so you could get some principals going, wait a minute, I'm a supervisor, I am the principal, I'm responsible for the school, but I'm not the one with the highest salary here.
Or other
There-
teachers.
Yeah, or, right.
All right.
So, yeah, and
But
moving
I-
on, so, okay.
It's new territory, so
Yes, yes, yes.
we know there will
And
be a
that's
lot
not
of
our
questions
problem.
for us.
That is not our
Well,
problem.
I don't
That's
have
the
that issue right now because none of
Yeah.
the schools in my district.
Yeah, no, same here.
Yeah, but we're gonna
But
get
that-
there.
that's a-
We're gonna
and
get there, Javi.
that's a state issue,
We're gonna
because
get
they
there. We
created
promise.
this.
No.
We didn't create it, they created
No, I
that.
think we could qualify our cap. I think we could validate
Everybody.
everybody here if we really looked into it. I don't remember how we got to United South, but I can tell you, we started the early colleges in the South. Those teachers get the $2,500 stipends
Yep.
for going to the South. You know, we have a lot of programs going over here, but a lot of the teachers on this end don't qualify.
and-
I think this is one of those where we could qualify.
And let me just say
And we
this.
had that conversation when Ms. Morales started this program at the very beginning. And that was one of the things that I wanted to see, that we include all the teachers. But anyway.
That's key.
Yeah.
We should.
Well, and let me tell you, we're cohort D, so we were in the 4th cohort for the state of Texas, and we followed everything that the state of Texas guided us. And they guided us to say, small pilot, don't do all your schools because you will not get validated. You've got to learn the systems first. You have to go through your first full round, which is what we have now. Believe me, we have a wealth of knowledge now that we're going to be able to apply and make sure our systems are working because, yeah, our goal is all of our teachers.
Well,
That
it's
is
a
the
learning
goal.
pro- It
And
is a learning
also-
process, yes.
Also, I know like when there's programs like that, there's a lot of requirements and they're always changing and you guys have to be updating and learning. So, I want to commend that. So I know little by little we'll get to Alexander and I think
We'll make adjustments.
It's always little by little, but we do get
Thank
there. Yes, it is always little by
We
little.
finally got an
but
early
we do
college.
get
next
there.
year.
Thank you.
We
Right?
finally
So
got an
this-
early college.
This is
so
coming,
That's the
this
goal.
next
Yes.
coming school year, right?
Yes.
This next
So,
coming school
yeah,
year,
that's perfect.
23-24, we'll be
Yes.
adding the United South
It's
High
not
School feeder
everybody.
pattern because that was our application in April.
By what year are we going to add the
The
entire
following school
district?
year, 24,
2025.
25,
Two-
it'll
two
be,
years.
it'll be, we want all, our goal is all teachers.
This time next year.
This time next year, we'll be
23,
talking about.
We'll be talking about the next year. Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay, agenda item F, notice of grant applications that may be submitted on behalf of the district. Okay.
Good evening, board members. I'm not going to be quite so complicated. I commend Emma and everybody for doing such a wonderful job. I remember working on that so many years ago, on the first time we were looking at it. I commend you. Wonderful work. This evening, I'm going to bring to you some grants that we're going to be looking at. One of them is cooperative agreements for school-based trauma-informed support services and mental health care for children and youth. It's through the Grants Administration Business Office and the Licensed Specialist in School Psychology. The purpose is to increase student access to evidence-based and culturally relevant trauma support services and mental health care by developing innovative initiatives, activities, and programs to link local school systems with local trauma-informed support mental health systems. Including those under Indian Health Service, which we ended up not doing. The amount is to be determined. The other one that we'll be looking at with Ms. Angie Sanchez's department is the Perkins 5 Strengthening Career and Tech Education for the 21st Century Grant, and that is one that's recurring every year. The purpose of that CTE program is to develop more fully the academic knowledge, technical, and employability skills of the secondary ed students who enroll in the CTE programs. Any questions?
Not
Okay.
at this time. Thank you.
And then the Grants Administration Monthly Report is in your packet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so agenda item number 5A, discussion regarding monthly disbursements.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. McLeod, members of the board. The Division of Finance presented you all with the disbursements for the month of April. I don't know if any of you all have any questions on those disbursements at this time.
No, sir.
No.
Thank you.
Anybody else? No?
No.
All right, thank you. Agenda item B, discussion regarding property tax refunds for the month of April 2023. Ms. Madrigal?
Yes, I bring to you the tax refunds for the month of April. We just had one. It's an overpayment for $738. The account is paid in full. There's no loss of revenue to the district.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number C, discussion awarding bids, proposals, and qualifications. Ms. Jackson?
Good evening, board members, superintendent. I have the following recommendations for your consideration. RFP 015-2023, irrigation and landscaping materials to OO Landscaping and Olympia Landscaping Development. RFP 016-2023, labor and materials for plumbing services to Chavarrias Plumbing, Texas Burner and Boiler Services, and to Lands Plumbing. RFP 012-2023, self-insured group health administration and stop-loss insurance services to Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas. RFP 013-2023, lubricants for district-wide buses and white fleet to Arguindegui Oil, Freedom Oil, Gonzalez Auto Parts, and Rush Bus Center. And then we have 5 renewals for your consideration. We also have 2 extensions, and so the extensions are new, and there's the one for the maintenance and multimedia cabling and repair to M1, and the security officer service to iView Investigations and Securities.
All right, these are for action item for next week.
Yes, for next week.
On the recommended vendors, is there more than one applicant or vendor that submitted a bid request? I want to make sure that we're having more than 2 or 3 in this
Yeah.
bid.
Usually, yes. I'd have to look at it for each individual, but yes, the committee does recommend from a multitude of several vendors.
Okay, because I want to make sure not only going to vote for it. We
Of
need
the
to have
ones that
more
we're
vendors.
presenting tonight, yes, there was more than one.
Or 2.
Or 2, yes.
That's not in our control.
No.
It's up to the vendor
No,
themselves
correct.
to submit
To
the
su-
bids.
to submit.
They're given notice, they're given the
Yes.
advertisement.
In the ones that are presented tonight, we don't always have more than 2. I will tell you that depends on how specialized the bid is. But in the ones that I've presented tonight, yes, we have had, more than the 2 or the 3. Not all of them are being recommended. The backup of your documentation includes a tabulation, which includes all of the vendors. So in the case of the first one, there were only 2 vendors, and the facilities department is recommending both vendors. So we did only have 2 in that one, and both are being recommended.
And that's to have a backup, right? Backup vendor.
Well, and it's also because each one has a specialization in what one may do and what one may not do. So, for example, one of them may provide irrigation, and the other one doesn't have the license for irrigation, so we can't hire them to do irrigation. We can only hire them to do, like, the landscaping and purchase of shrubs and trees, et cetera. So it really depends on each bid and on each vendor.
I want to make sure that we're getting the best value for our district.
That's
Not
the goal
just-
of our department, yeah.
That's why I asked if it's got to do with just one vendor, we might not be getting the best value.
Correct.
That's why I said what I'm asking, but just want to make sure.
Mhm.
Because I want to be clear in my mind that I'm
Yes, and you
voting for
can,
the right
and you
vendor.
can view exactly how many vendors we had for each bid when you look at the backup documentation for each of the solicitations.
For the renewals, is it like 2 years, 5 years, 4 years?
So the renewals are bids that you've approved prior, and usually our
Like
contracts.
for the ones that we're going to approve, how many years?
Yes,
is
usually
it?
they're 3 to 5 year contracts, but every year we bring them as an approval, like to renew, because we have to get with the campus or the department, are you satisfied with their service? And when they say yes, are you interested in renewing? Then we go to the vendor and we tell the vendor, are you interested in renewing as well? Because at that point, they can say, well, no, my price has gone up, or yes, I will renew. So that's why there's some times where a bid can have a possibility of 2 to 3 renewals, and we only renewed it once. And it could be due to pricing or service. So they're not automatically renewed.
Where do we advertise that this is coming up for bid?
So we
A certain
advertise in
service?
the newspaper, and we have to do it for 2 consecutive weeks whenever we do it. And we also have them on our district website.
Okay. Do we use any other softwares?
Yes, we have.
Like BidNet or anything?
Well, we have the IronWave eBid system. And so when vendors register to do business with us, anytime there's a solicitation for any of the categories they checked off, they will get an email notification.
Okay.
And so something as broad as, say, for example, technology, they would get all of our solicitations. But say they're a networking cable vendor, but not a computer vendor, they'll still get the notification, and it's their choice whether they're going to bid on it or not.
Okay, so it is open
It's
for
open.
anyone to bid on it, whether you're local, not local. There's opportunity because it's advertised.
Correct.
Okay.
It's been my experience that any business can just send an email and you can get on the mailing list pretty rapidly, pretty easily.
Correct. So the mailing list, you actually do it online.
Online.
You register your business, you put your email, your phone number, all of your information, and you check off the categories that you want to. I'll give you an example. When we first started, there was a vendor that checked everything off, and then they were like, oh, I'm being bombarded with emails. So we tell them, we'll go back and check. If you don't want to receive computer bids, don't check that one off. If you want to receive consultant packets, check that one off. And so that's how they do.
And I know we don't control people to bid on this. I realize that. My concern is only that if we just had one bid, that to me is not the best value for our district, that we should rebid and put it out there again so people get informed and they get the information and maybe they might consider a second time. But that's the only reason I want to know those questions,
Okay, sure.
or those answers, rather.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Discussion regarding amendment number 5 to the design build contract with Lander Construction of Texas Incorporated for the new aquatic center facility to increase the contract guaranteed maximum price, amount to install additional signage at the Carol E. Summers Junior Aquatic Center.
So here we're wanting to increase the amount by $32,999.12. And this is to add additional signage in the building. I don't know if you can scroll up, Sam, so that they can actually see the.
Can you zoom in?
The rendering. No, if you go up. And so this is also for a new plaque because when
You want to
the.
see the intro to the item?
No. If you keep going, there's a rendering. And one more. Yeah, so this is what we're talking about right there, the Carol E. Summers Junior Aquatic Center. That's where the sign would go. Currently, right now, there's not a sign there. There's a sign in the front of the building. But at the time when the building was built, it wasn't named Carol E. Summers, so it just said United ISD Aquatic Center. And then also, if you'll scroll one more. Also, the plaque, when you enter the building, didn't have the Summers name, and so we're also doing the plaque. So it's the outside lettering as well as the plaque for the $32,000.
Any questions?
No. Looks good.
All right.
And did we get bids on this?
Well, this was through the design build contract, so the contractor provided us a price to do that. Just the contractor that did the project.
Okay, agenda item 5E, discussion to authorize by resolution the extension of the district's depository contract for the 2023-2025 biennium.
So the district is recommending to renew for the next biennium, so the next 2 years is the only contract that we actually don't bring to you every year. We bring it to you every 2 years with PNC Bank. And so this is going to be the last renewal or extension that we have with this, and then in 2 years, we'll bid it out again. And so this has to go through resolution because it's also through Chapter 45, not Chapter 44, and it's here for your signature next week's board meeting.
Questions?
No.
Sir, thank you.
Agenda item F, discussion regarding requests from board members in reference to the use of discretionary funds for various projects, campuses.
Members of the board, Mr. Gonzalez, there are no additional requests, so what has been submitted is what's being proposed. Unless we get some new requests, we'll have them at the board meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item G, discussion on amendment to the District of Innovation Plan. Ms. Morales. Mrs. Morales.
Good evening, members of the board, Mr. Gonzalez, members of the audience, Rebecca Morales, Assistant Superintendent for Administration and Policies. We are presenting to you, and I have Mr. Canales here from Human Resources, an amendment to our District of Innovation Plan for your consideration for approval at next week's meeting. So we have been a District of Innovation for some time now. This was a result of House Bill 1842, which is allowing Texas Public Schools to have some flexibility in some of the items that we're allowed to exempt from the Education Code. A local plan has to identify requirements imposed by Education Code, and that may inhibit the goals of the district. So currently, these are all of the exemptions that UISD has. We have the school day interruptions as far as announcements are concerned, the calendar uniform start date where it allows us to start earlier. We have the minimum attendance for class credit, the flexibility on not having to have only one campus behavior coordinator, the ejection of individuals from facilities, teacher certification flexibility for CATE programs and dual credit, suspension of students below 3rd grade, and staff development, giving us flexibility at the campus level for all the requirements. I do want to point out that the suspension of students below 3rd grade, this is actually a change that's been recently made to the Education Code, where we no longer are allowed to use this exemption. I believe, Jaime, I believe it was October 2022. It was already this
Correct.
school year. So just so that you know, we're not using this exemption anymore, and next time that we're up for renewal, we're going to be removing this, but it is not being used. So these are the, this is the amendment that we are hoping that you will approve at next week's board meeting. We want to have the flexibility to continue to employ teachers who have taught 1 full year and give them extended time, for example, 1 year plus 2 years through DOI to get their certifications. The ability to hire core subject teachers, EC through 6, who are degreed and meet district DOI criteria for an eligibility period of 3 years. Also to hire secondary math, science, social studies, English language arts teachers and elective teachers, again, who are degreed and meet our criteria that we're setting for DOI. Also, the ability to hire out-of-state certified instructors who do hold a teaching certificate from another state to be able to hold a teaching position with the district in the same content area. And again, allow a certified teacher to teach within their content area outside of their grade level certification. So as you can see, it's just offering the district a little more flexibility when we are hiring teachers. We're always going to look for our certified teachers that are certified in their area first. But if approved, this would allow us a little more flexibility in trying to fill all the vacancies that we have in the district.
Ms.
Now-
Morales, I'm
yes.
sorry. In a case that a teacher retires, is there a limitation of when they can come back?
There are limitations, and I don't know if Mr. Flores can.
Yes. They're controlled heavily by the Texas retirement system or teachers retirement system, and they can come back after an extended period of time, and they can come back part-time, which is usually 10 or 11 days out of every month. And then it gets complicated because if they're coming back for a position where there's we need a substitute, then they can come back without penalty. But if they're coming back where there's just a vacancy and there was never anybody in, then they've got to go through some other channels that TRS allows us to have. And we've actually have to bring this up every once in a while because it's so complex. And chart that kind of says, yes, no, you can do this, yes, no, you can do that.
Okay.
Maybe
Is there-
at a later meeting.
For the record, this is something we've been lobbying for with our state reps.
Yes,
On that, specifically on
definitely.
this.
Yes.
And we've had our Tech School Alliance also on board with us.
Yeah, because we have a shortage of teachers, and if they're wanting to come back, bring them back. Yeah.
Are all the same benefits going to apply to these employees as any regular
Yes.
certified teacher?
Yes. Yes, they will.
Bonuses,
Yes.
raises, everything?
Yes.
No matter that they're not certified?
Is there any requirements that we ask for as a district above the retirement, TA and everything else?
No, ma'am.
No? Okay, good.
We know that there's some bills out there that are trying to help us because of the teacher shortage as far as not penalizing the teachers.
Mhm.
But we just have to wait to see what the final verdict, once the legislators are finished. And then, of course, this is what we're asking. Our recruiters have been out looking for teachers. As you know, the supply line coming from the College of Ed has decreased over 35 to 50%, depending on where you're at. And so we've been finding it's been very challenging to find teachers that want to come in that are already certified. So what many districts have done across the state is they've done exactly what we're doing right now, and it gives us more time. So in the past, I want to give you some little history. In the past, we were given 3 years to pass our test,
Mhm.
and unlimited times. Then they went back and they reduced it down to 1 year.
5 tries.
And with 5 tries only. And I'm going to tell you that we would lose a lot of teachers because they couldn't pass their test of 1 year because they were busy doing the teaching thing and they were doing the right thing to make sure our kids did well. So what that sacrifice was time and the study sessions. So what we've asked is just give us more time.
Yes.
And that way we can get them there, and then we're going to provide the infrastructure, working with a third-party vendor to help us with their studies, their study sessions,
Mhm.
and to get them ready to pass their tests.
Good.
So that's what we're asking for. It's just more time.
I've got no issue. I don't think that's why teachers aren't coming. I think the teachers are overloaded as it is.
Yes.
That's why they're leaving the profession.
So if we don't do this, that means there's probably going to be less teachers, and there's going to be more kids in the classes. So by doing this.
Are you considering adjusting their pay, the starting pay?
Well, I'm sure that we have been looking at it, and we're waiting for the state. to
It's a
decide
hot
what they're gonna
topic.
give us. We've been talking to TSA, we've been talking to our legislators to see what they can do about the monies. But as you're aware, the state is only looking at $5 billion for education, and we're not even sure if we're going to get all of it.
But we're losing experienced teachers.
Yes. I
Teachers
mean-
who are 20 years, 15-year teachers. I mean, it's just, that's what we need to fix. I think it's, the districts need to look internally at what we're throwing at them. But anyway, that's another day. That's another discussion for another day.
I just went to the retirement ceremony, and there was a lot of them there.
There were a lot
Yeah.
of people, and we're exploring, what we can do for retention, for improved culture and morale, and these are things that we're looking to implement for this coming school year. But again, like Mr. Canales said, if you do approve this next week, we do have a very structured support plan. We know that these individuals, if any of them fall under any of these categories, they are going to need a lot of our support. So that would be HR and CNI working hand in hand to make sure that our new teachers are supported. We did have, and just so you know, this was not something that just we came up with and we decided, we're going to move forward with this. We did have a committee meeting last week, as a matter of fact, on May the 1st at SAC at 3:30. We had 63 members present. We have representation. We have teachers. The majority of the members on this committee are teachers from all campuses in the district. We have campus and district leaders. We have parents and community members. And we had community members. We had representation from both institutions of higher learning. So we had Dr. Minita Ramirez from LC that was present. And we had Dr. Romero from the College of Education at TAMIU that was present as well. The committee members were provided information. They had the opportunity to ask questions, provide feedback, and then at the end, we did ask all our committee members to vote on these proposed changes. And just so you know that the committee voted in favor of the amendment with a final vote of 97.9%. So they were all in favor.
So move.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Agenda item I.
Great explanation. Thank you.
Discussion of updated District of Innovation addendum to employment contracts.
So as you know, if we've already approved these addendums last back in March. So with this new change, if everything works out well and you vote favorably to help us out for the DOI, we're going to have to go back and do some modifications on the one that I'm presenting right now. So we'll have to vote again on this particular addendum. So we'll do that after, if you all approve it, that will be next week.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item I, discussion regarding resolution of the United Independent School District in support of the Texas Governor's fiscal year 24 Criminal Justice Program grant application for body-worn cameras.
Good evening again, board members. Dr. Landick with Grants Administration. For some of our grants, especially those that come from the state, sometimes we have to ask that a resolution be passed in order to support the grant activity. We were able to apply for some funding in seeking out some body-worn cameras for our police department. And this is some funding that comes from the Public Safety Office with our governor's, Texas Governor's Public Safety Office. It used to be the CJ, they changed names. Anyway, it's very interesting. Usually I go through a very fun thing where I ask you to keep on repeating the whereas. It's too late for that. So I can speed read it, or you can read it yourselves. But we're going to ask that the resolution be placed on the consent agenda when the time comes. Speed read? Here we go.
Go ahead.
This resolution says, whereas the United Independent School District, UISD, Board of Trustees finds it in the best interest of the citizens of UISD and Webb County, Texas, that the, quote, body-worn cameras, unquote, grant be submitted to the Public Safety Office, PSO, and be operated for the 2023-2024 school year. And whereas the UISD Board agrees to provide applicable matching funds for the said project as required by the Public Safety Office grant application, in this case, zero. And whereas the UISD Board agrees in the event of loss or misuse of the Office of the Governor funds, the UISD Board assures that the funds will be returned to the Office of the Governor in full. Whereas the UISD Board designates the UISD Director of Grants Administration as the grantee's authorized official, the authorized official is given the power to apply for, accept, reject, alter, or terminate the grant on behalf of the applicant agency. Now therefore be it resolved that the UISD Board approves submission of the grant application for the, quote, body-worn cameras, unquote, grant to the PSO, Office of the Governor, signed by, passed and approved at the date of the next board meeting by our board president with the grant numbers listed above. Any questions? No. If we're very, very lucky, as I hope we will be, we'll be approved for partial funding for all the cameras of our police department. Reason being, this comes down as a lump sum to the 5 county group that we're part of, and we have to share funding with that 5 counties. So we may be able, if we're very lucky, to get 1/4 to 1/3 of our funding, and then next year we can apply for the next quarter, and the next quarter, and the next quarter. We've done this in the past in order to fund our interoperable radio services, which was an upgrade that we had to pay for use of the upgrades of the tower with the city of Laredo to provide our services.
But that's the resolution that you're presenting for next week?
That's the resolution, sir. Okay, so thank you very much for your time.
I'm sorry, when you say cameras for police officers, like body cams?
Body-worn cameras, yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
so not all officers are going to be able to obtain the body cams. Now, these are upgrade cameras, or like they don't have any cameras?
We have cameras that we received under a federal grant award. Those cameras are approaching 5 years old.
Yes.
Because they're a high-tech product and technology changes so much.
Right.
The company that made them has been absorbed by another company. There are issues with the batteries and issues with the clip. I have to commend our officers and our chief, Aaron Salazar. They're doing the best with what they have.
Yes. So,
And the data is kept locally, but now as they're approaching the end of life, we're seeking out other means to get more body-worn
so how do
cameras.
we determine who receives the new cameras?
When and if we're funded, we will be meeting with chief as a group and involving management as appropriate, and they'll be coming up with a plan to do that. They could develop a variety of strategies to do so. They could say maybe it goes by grade level, maybe it's officers who are in particular hotspots, maybe it's particular campuses. We'll have
Is
to
there
go
any
with-
other grants, anything else we can apply for? I mean, it's crucial. It's
It is
safety.
crucial. Yes,
It's safety.
ma'am.
So to get
Yes,
it just a partial is not enough.
No,
Is there
ma'am.
anything else we can apply for? Anything else that we're doing? Anything else that's out there that we can apply for to help out our police department?
There are some that are coming from a federal agency, but they have a variety of requirements, as you know. And as soon as we're able to meet all the requirements, we put out the applications to everybody. We're a small, but a very effective and very tenacious office. We work with everybody, and we go after funding even if it's a little bit unreasonable. But we'll keep on fighting for it. We'll do the best we can. We've been very fortunate to work with Mr. Henry Cuellar's office. He's a wonderful doctor, Mr. Henry Cuellar's office. He's a wonderful resource. And with our safety department headed up by Mr. Mike Garza, we're going to continue fighting for it. And I am not above seeking out, I'm always after corporate sponsorship. We haven't been successful yet, but one day we will.
I would really like to see a list of grants that are out there that we're applying for actively to assist this department.
Yes, ma'am. I can meet with you privately if you'd like, or we could visit over the phone or in person.
I would like for it to be presented to the board.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I'll be happy to. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item J, discussion regarding instructional materials allotment and TEAC certification form. Mr. Barron.
Good evening, members of the board, staff, Mr. Gonzalez, Mike Barron for the record. Before you, we're bringing the a TEAC certification form for our adopted material. TA requires us to bring this form to you for your approval on an annual basis. So that's what we're doing now. With your approval, it'll allow us to have access to our future allotment for our material. That's it for me.
No questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And K, discussion regarding annual renewal of district workers' compensation insurance program.
Hello, good evening. Excuse me, board members, Mr. Gonzalez, and members of the audience. My name is Ofelia Dominguez. I am the Director of Risk Management. And this evening, we bring before you, the staff has, we bring before you annual renewal of district workers' compensation insurance program. Staff has finalized renewal proposal and recommends that the board award the workers' compensation insurance contract to TPS, which is a Texas Political Subdivision. The renewal premium is at $2,493,514, an additional of $66,131 compared to last year, which is an increase of only 2.5%. Next slide. And this is the actual renewal proposal that we received from the insurance company.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.